let's talk a little bit about, like, what can you say about last year? Because I noticed, right, here's the thing, as far as I can tell, whatever happened internally, once it was resolved, I will say you and the org did a pretty good job of making it so it wasn't like a recurring thing that you guys brought up. It seemed like it was squashed pretty quickly. You did that, like, funny thing I'll say with Steve, which I thought was pretty good, where you did that banter where it sort of tied into the meme about, like, the fucking, whatever it was, Chipotle or whatever, you know, where you did the Jersey Mike's ad one, which is pretty cleverly done, by the way. It's a pretty good way to if people don't know, in esports you have to lean into the meme, because if you don't, the meme just gets out of control without you and destroys you. So I thought it was all pretty good. So what would you tell us? What can you say about last year, Alphari? Obviously it's up to you how much depth you want to go into, mate. What went wrong?
I mean, I think the biggest issue, I mean, obviously, okay, so I don't think it's like just like one person to blame, although the biggest thing was that fundamentally the coach Jat, he had too much power, and he just made like a really bad, stupid decision, in my opinion, or like communicated in a really wrong way, and it was solo, and it was ironically enough in the spur of the moment with no like prior consent or like interaction with people.
Right. It just kind of blew up out of nowhere, basically. It wasn't things happened and then this was the sixth thing or whatever.
But I thought he said publicly it wasn't a spur of the moment decision.
He here for a month, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said ironically that it was in fact spur of the moment, Dom. Yeah, that's why I said that.
No, I'm just saying, like, I mean, Chipotle or Chick-fil-A, you never gave us the fucking answer, so that's what we're really asking here.
Chick-fil-A, of course. I mean, Chipotle is good too.
All right, you can continue.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard. Like, Team Liquid just trusted Jat a lot, which is like I kind of understand, because ideally you do have like a really smart and good coach that you can trust and will make the right decisions and know what they're doing. But this isn't always the case, and more often than not, I think in esports it's not the case actually, that the coach should have this much power that they can make decisions like this, like that, without consulting players. So I think Team Liquid trusted the wrong person, which is understandable. I think he made a bad decision and communicated the decision badly, very badly to me, actually. And the follow-up was quite terrible, because I didn't hear from him about what his plan was moving forward, what I should improve on. He had like nothing for like a week. And then when we spoke, it was about how I hurt his feelings with my tweets, rather than like a plan moving forward or how we resolve this. I accept responsibility because I was pretty tilted at the time, being in America by the previous weeks. I don't think my gameplay was an issue. I think that this reasoning was insincere. And if you want to go more in depth as well, I would say, and I think most of my teammates would agree, that I was not the biggest tilter on the team, or that I was not the most negative person on the team.
You were?
No, I was not.
You were not, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think most of them would agree.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what this reasoning was too much. He told me it was performance and attitude related, but then afterwards they tried to backtrack and say it was because of my personal issues, which I did not want them to then, kind of, go back and change it. I wanted them to be like, no, this is why we did it.
Yeah.
Even though they then tried to be like, no, it's because of personal issues.
Yes.
I mean, I was struggling because of personal issues, but this is not the reason that was communicated to me. So I thought that was disingenuous, and I wanted like what Jat told me to be what the reasoning was. And yeah, I mean, Team TL, they like, he went, right? And I came back. Jenkins was good. He stepped in. He did good for the team. I think actually it brought the team really close together, because there was already friction between Jat and two other players on the team in spring, like quite a lot. So there was already like some, existing tension between other teammates.
Common enemy. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Common enemy. Yeah, it's true. And flaming somebody together as a team is like really good for team bonding.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, I think it was like good for us in the long run. It was just like shitty circumstance having a coach that had too much power given his skill set, coach. But understandable mistake by TL. I was tilted because of some things in my life, but I was fine, I think. It was communicated very badly. The follow-up was bad. I think TL fixed it eventually, but it still rubbed me the wrong way that this decision was able to happen in the first place. After, from my perspective, I mean, I'm moving continent to play on this team.
Sure, yeah.
I'm giving a lot, and TL also knew about like some like hard stuff that I was going through at the time. Regardless, I mean, I don't think like the reasoning was good anyway, right? But I felt like this was just like a really disrespectful thing towards me, so I had a hard time, I don't know, trusting TL again after that.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
That's kind of it.
Let me ask you this then, right? You tell me if this is wrong, but like from what you're saying there, remember, I'm going to go on the public version. I'm only going to go off things that have been said by you and team. Look, I'm not going to go by anything I might know privately, right? It sounds to me like basically the situation could be summarized like this. Even though on talk shows like this, people like me, specifically me, often say, I actually want them to give more power to coaches Alphari. But the reason why goes like this. I want it to be that when the coach really does put in a certain player or bench someone or do, like, I want it to be that it's his fault if he did or didn't do it right. That way, they can't do what they all do on these talk shows I have on, which is they go, I don't really have any power, and I couldn't even choose who I picked my player. I couldn't bench him either because he's more famous. So I hate that world, right? But this is the problem I'll say. The reason why I sort of get what you mean by like they give him too much power, especially considering, as you implied, it was only his second split as a coach. Essentially, he got his status from being a caster. It's not like he's some legendary coach who did 10 years of coaching. But the problem it sounds like is he essentially did have ultimate power as to who was benched or was allowed to play, and as far as I can tell, for just totally personal petty reasons, he was offended by what you said or how you interacted with him, an interaction he had. He just chose that he was just going to essentially like keep you in prison. You're on the bench, and the problem, as far as I can tell, for Team Liquid was that they were painted into a corner where they gave him all this power, and essentially there was only two ways it was going to go. Either he admitted, look, I am actually sort of abusing my power a bit. He's not really benched for the reasons I'm saying he is, or I'm not going to admit it, in which case you have to fire me. Like, there's not really any. I mean, you can't reach an impasse there. Like, because as far as I could tell, the little bit I do know from behind the scenes is like you weren't the only player. That's the one part I found dirty about all that Alphari is like you said about them, like using your personal issues. They tried to spin it at the end, like you were going through some shit, and maybe you also weren't that good at the game. And then also they just made it sound like it was just you and Jack. Like there was plenty more people than Jack. The difference is some of the others are the sort of people who wouldn't fight back. You know, they were the sort of people who were just taking it. So, what would you just say? Was anything off base for that?
I mean, I will say actually, and this is kind of funny, but when I got benched, one of my teammates, I'm not going to say who, was telling me that like now's the time to like, push for him gone. Otherwise, you have to wait until afterwards.
Okay.
So
you don't have to clarify, but did he say it with a Danish accent or a Korean accent, or did he sound Americanized? Like
it all sounds the same to me. All sounds
there you go.
Sounds good. So one of the questions I had when you were going through that is you kind of brushed over the fact that like it makes sense for coaches to have a lot of power. Like maybe it made sense for Team Liquid to give a coach that much power. But from my perspective, I was wondering like how that comes to be when somebody steps in from a casting role, because as a caster, not many players respect casters' knowledge unless they were like a recent pro or something like that. So when you have a coach that just stepped in, wouldn't he have to like earn his ranks, like show that he actually does have enough game knowledge and knowledge of coaching to actually be deserving of that much power? Or do you think that it's just because he was labeled as the coach that he just gets that power pretty much automatically?
I'm not sure. I don't know what goes through the heads of organizations sometimes when they hire the people they hire. I think that presumably actually I don't even know. Actually, like I didn't hear great things about him the year before when he was first being a coach. So I'm not sure what made TL have that much confidence in him. Like I said, there were complaints about him in spring as well from other players. It just wasn't until the start of summer that there was friction between him and I. So yeah, I don't know why TL had so much confidence in him. You would have to ask them. I don't understand why esports orgs in general have like so much confidence in some people. But I mean, you have to get a coach at the end, like sometimes, right? Like I think generally, actually, coaching is like a little bit of a meme. I think that in my experience, like a lot of analysts or coaches, and like actually, sometimes I sit there and I'm just really mind blown that they are actually having a job and getting paid like a good amount of money for like
Okay.
I'm serious. Like it's really,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I know
wow,
you are.
I respect it because it's, I could understand, I can sympathize with having like a pretty comfy job, not doing anything.
Can you give us an example? Like obviously, listen, don't make it so specific people would know, but like this can be one that like you can leave the name details out. Like give us an example. Like has there been an analyst in recent years that sat there and said something mental, like, like this matchup should be winning at this point, and it's like the fuck, that's not even viable as a champion, Is it on this level we're talking about some of the sort of like things that just make you think, what the fuck, how's this guy got a job? Is it on that sort of level?
Yeah. I mean, and when I was on Origin, we were like trialing. So Origin had budget issues, right? So that's why we lost our good analyst, Case.
Yes, that's right.
Case was really good, by the way. He's actually like one of the exceptions where he's good esports staff. We would recommend him to any org to hire, but he has like a bad reputation. But it's just deal with it.
And the perfect org in that sense.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, here's some good org for him.
Yeah, it's right for him. Yeah.
But yeah, no, on Origin there were like some people that were getting like trialed for analysts, and it felt like it's just like a fan or like a caster, so like a caster sitting in the room, yes. And you give them the benefit of the doubt. You try to listen and you try to be like, okay, sure, it's like he's new, he's learning, maybe he says something useful, but eventually it's kind of like I don't know. Maybe I'm like flaming people too much, but of course there's like some useful people, but a lot of the time it's kind of a meme. I think that coaches, you don't have to be like this know-it-all League of Legends. I don't know, fucking who's the guy from? Yeah, like, you don't have to be like knowing everything or be like perfect coach in such a young industry. And either you're an ex-pro player and you know about the game, or you don't really know that much about the game, but you have like experience in other aspects of life, right? And you're more mature, and therefore you can like offer like some leadership or structure. Those are like the two types of coaches. And it's kind of hard to do both from what I've seen.
All right. First of all, I was just thinking when he said that, Dom, where he goes like, I don't know if I'm flaming too much. It's like, you preach to the fucking choir here, mate. Like, we're not going to tell you to stop. Look what we've done in our careers. Like,
actually, it was too much.
You went hard enough. Yeah, exactly. Can you just tone it down? Like, you have to understand, like, Jat's a close personal friend of whatever. Who gives a fuck? Right. Let's get to...
He's a good caster. He's good at talking. Like,
what's hilarious, mate, is when I actually did a tweet recently. This is where like people don't. It's weird because on the one hand, people always say my sense of humor is like too over the top and too extreme, and I don't like make it subtle enough. But like when I basically did a tweet along the lines of what you're saying. When Jat announced he was coming back to LCS, I basically said like, "Oh, welcome back, mate. He's one of the best." And everyone thought I was like trolling it. It's like, why would that be connected? He could be mega at doing his job on camera. It just doesn't mean he's mega as a coach. The skill set's almost non-existent. Like there's no overlap. And spoiler, I already knew some of the things behind the scenes anyway when he's a caster, so believe it or not, some people who are really good casters are fucking assholes. Not me. I mean, I am as well, but that's just incidental. It's not even relevant to our point. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.